Okay, so tell me your name and how you started in the union and how you got where you are.
All right, let me start from the very beginning, and that's a long time ago. I've been associated with CSEA on and
Your
off.
name?
My name is Nicholas Palacino. I've been associated with CSEA, believe it or not, for over 50 years. I started way back, and that's going way back. I went to work for the state of New York when I left the service. I was discharged from World War II. I'm a World War II veteran. And I went to work for the state of New York. At that time, we had no contracts. We had nothing. And there was an organization around they called CSEA, but it was more of a social setup. As a matter of fact, I always remember the fact that I became active. Well, first of all, the dues I was paying, I think it was 10 cents a week or something, and somebody in the office came around and collected, and that, so I was very reluctant to join any organization without knowing too much about it. But anyway, I became involved, and after a while, we formed locals in each division of the state of New York, and I became active in the Division of Employment, the Department of Labor, as a grievance representative. So I worked for the state of New York on a temporary job for 23 and a half years. My involvement with CSEA, I met quite a number of people in CSEA, and at one point I was approached and asked if I'd be interested in serving on the staff of CSEA as a field representative. At that time, they were known as field representative. Now they got a fancy name, labor relations specialist. But so I then had to make a decision after 23 and a half years of working for the state whether I was going to retire and join the staff. And I made the decision, and I vested my rights with the state because I wasn't old enough at the time, and I became a staff member of CSEA. Well, I had a career with CSEA of 20 years, and then I decided at that point, while I was on staff, I was very fortunate because I was assigned into the Long Island area, which was near my home. I didn't have to relocate. And as a matter of fact, that's where I met some of the most wonderful people I was assigned to the psychiatric. I always remember this, and I've always got to give these people credit. When I went to work servicing the psychiatric centers, that's Central Islip, Pilgrim, Kings Park, I learned that the people that work in these places are a different, I don't want to use the word breed, but these people were dedicated people. You had to be dedicated to work there. So I had a lot of respect for those people because they worked hard under very, very bad conditions. But I saw CSEA grow from, at that point, they were like a paper tiger. We had the potentialities, but we never utilized. I attended a convention at one time as a delegate where somebody got up and said that we ought to change our name to CSEA Union, and I think 3 or 4 ladies collapsed because they thought that was a terrible thing. But I'm very happy to say that I've seen the change in CSEA from a paper tiger into one of the most forceful and great unions of the state of New York. And they did a tremendous amount of good for our people. I know because I worked for the state, and I know that we didn't have no rights at all until we finally got a state contract, and we at least were heard. And this is what made, when the Taylor Law was passed in '68 and I went to work for CSEA, one of the hardest jobs we had is sitting down with administration and convincing administration that they had to talk to us. You see, up to this point, they only spoke to us when they felt like talking to us. But now they were required by law, and we had we danced around quite some time. And during that time, as I said before, I was working in one psychiatric unit where they had some problems with the local there, and there was an election, and some guy got elected who wasn't even on a ballot. It was a write-in vote, and he won overwhelmingly. Well, the night of the change, the winner came in the room, and I know he's going to strike this out. He had on a pair of sandals with no socks, a pair of shorts, short shorts. Now he's a big guy, and a T-shirt. Now here was the new president, and a cigar in his mouth. Of course, the first thing I did was sit down with him and said, "Now look, you're representing." At that point, the Central Islip had maybe 3,000 employees. So I said, you got to look like an executive and act like an executive, you know, because they expect a lot from you. And the man has amazed me because he's made such a tremendous stride, and I'm so proud of him. I think of him as a son. I really am proud, and every time I look at him, I just feel good. That's all, and he knows it. Do I have to tell you who I'm talking about?
Yeah, tell me.
That's Danny Donahue. Danny, and he's just one great guy.
Well, he dresses better, but he probably hasn't changed much in other respects. Has he?
Right. He's always. I always take him out to lunch. He never takes me out to lunch. You know, at one time we were together. So when I first broke him in, we were together for so long. His wife thought we would keep him company. You know. So, but he has a wonderful family and a wonderful wife, and I've seen his family grow up, and he's proud of them, and they're doing a fine job. Well, anyway, enough praise. See, I don't want anything. When I retired from CSEA, I wanted to keep myself busy and active, because under the retirement, if you don't keep your mind active, you fade away. So my first outing was I did some volunteer work as an ombudsman for the state in the nursing homes, but I just couldn't take the atmosphere there. It was so, I just couldn't do it. So I attended a retiree meeting, and that was another fatal mistake I made. I attended a retiree meeting, and the officers were so happy to see me, and they asked me to get involved, and I said, well, I'd like to get involved in a limited way, but first thing you know, I was on the executive board, and right after that, of course, the president stepped down, and so they asked me to be the president. So I've been serving as president of the local 919 in Nassau County, the CSEA retiree unit. At this point, we've built up our membership. We have over 4,200 members. So it keeps you hopping, and it keeps you answering the phone, and it keeps you, but I wouldn't trade my experience with CSEA for anything in the world. I met some of the most wonderful people in the world, and all types of people, all types. And well, like I said, the last 6 months have been a little rough on me, but they carried me through, and that's where it's been of help to me. So I am very, very grateful to CSEA.
Well, let's go back to when you were field rep. That's what they called it then, right?
That's field rep.
Yeah, I think that's a good solid title.
I thought so, but somebody got the idea to make it more exclusive.
Well, look, jails are correctional institutions now too, so what does that mean?
And custodians, you know.
Right. But what are some of the grievances that you had to deal with back in those days when you started?
Well, one of the grievances that I always enjoyed was, you see, in Kings Park State Hospital. It's located. It was located. It's now been closed. In a very, very beautiful area. The ocean is there and everything. So these were isolated spots 30, 40 years ago, but now, of course, it's very closely built. But the area where the hospital was built is such a beautiful area. And in order to attract employees, they gave them some perks. One of the perks, and I always remember this, was a boat slip. They had a pier there, and these people were given a boat slip based on the fact that they were employees of the hospital. Well, this was a sort of a perk that nobody wanted to give up because you know, it's almost impossible to get a slip out in the island now. But so at one time the state said, well, we're going to close it down to your employees. We filed a grievance, and the grievance was that this was a benefit that was given to the employees and that we didn't want it removed. Well, we met, and Danny and I went to a lot of hearings in Albany, and we finally got the state to withdraw. They withdrew, and the people were allowed to keep their slips. The only problem was they didn't want publicity. They told us, you know, don't go around printing something that you won a big case, because a lot of people objected to the fact that some of these employees had slips. And P.S., to this day, those people still have those slips, even though the hospital doesn't exist anymore. So we were happy about that.
No give backs there.
No give back, no. Well, that was another indication that if you don't have somebody fighting for you, you don't.
Yeah, that's the philosophy of a union.
That's one of the ones I remember. There was quite a few. I had some very comical ones. I once defended somebody in Central Islip who came to the hearing, and he was being accused of stealing in a kitchen. So I met with the gentleman early in the morning, and I said, look, you know, what happened? Oh, he says, it's very simple. He'd been working there for years. And he says, I finished my shift, and I don't drive, so I get picked up. So I put my, I was waiting for my ride, and I put my coat on the bench waiting for him. When he came, I just jumped in a car, and I picked up my coat. What he didn't tell me is that there was a 20-pound frozen turkey in his coat. So I says, you got to be kidding. You want me to go in and tell this to the arbitrator that you weren't aware of the fact that there was, you know? He said, I swear, I didn't know. I didn't know there was. So that's another one. Another one I had was very cute, also in Central Islip, is the head of the security force came to me and says, Nick, you know, we got a guy that's been working here for 35 years. Here's the problem. He came out the other day, and it was very hot in July, but he had a hat on, and they were watching him for a while. So they called him on side. They said, John, we'd like to talk to you. And they were talking to him, and as they were talking to him, the guy starts sweating, and then butter came running down. He had butter hidden in his hat. These are some of the things you can't forget. How do you forget things like that?
How do you get away with that?
Yeah.
Did you defend him successfully?
Well, we negotiated.
Yeah.
We gave, you know, he lost one day. I mean, the guy was 40 years. I mean, he probably was doing that. You know, but
all you got is that one incident, right? But getting back to the guy with the turkey, did he eat the evidence?
oh yeah. Oh, that's right. You know, I never did find out what he did with the turkey.
You didn't get a leg or anything? But you defended him successfully.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. We did. He didn't lose his job, but we got him a little suspension. I mean, the guy. And, you know, you have that help. You know, it's just next time I go to a hearing, the fellow's being brought up on charges for sleeping. He was drunk. He comes to the hearing. Whew, smelled like it was a. I said, "Did you have a drink this morning before?" He said, "Well, no, I was drinking last night. I just had to brace myself up." I said, "We can't go in there. I mean, he's being accused of being drunk." You reschedule it. He comes back again. He's drunk again. So you know, these are some of the things you think about, and you laugh now that you know it's. But
you know, I get a feeling though that I know these people put up with a lot. I'm surprised they didn't all burn out a lot sooner than they did working in the psych center.
that's right.
But don't you think that they were taking things because they felt like they were owed a little extra here, a little extra there, because of the way they were treated? I mean, what was the story?
Well,
what was life like then?
Well, you don't steal a 20-pound turkey because you know,
Okay.
you know, butter, milk, you know, that stuff they throw away if they can't use it.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
could see it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the same. You talk about that. Now, I also serviced the Farmingdale SUNY College. It used to be an agricultural arcade. Now they had farms. They would have chickens. That was another famous case of mine. That remained in my memory anyway. And the president at that time was a fellow named Cipriani. He was a wonderful guy. He, you know, they had a farm with chickens, and they would get eggs because they had plenty of eggs, and they used to sell them to the staff at a discount price, which was very nice. Now the president one day went down to get some eggs, and there was no eggs. So he went, since he was under instructions from his wife to bring home eggs, he went to town and he went to the local deli to buy eggs. And when he gets there, he finds stacks of Farmingdale eggs there. The guy that was taking care of the chickens was selling the eggs. So unfortunately, the guy that was in charge of that happened to be the president of the local in SUNY Farmingdale. But we got him out of that one too. I mean, but you know, when he called me, he said, "Look, you know, hey, he can't." So those are some of the memories that keep coming back.
That's great.
But
That's great stuff. What about some of the? Did you got to know Danny? But who was president when Danny was moving up and president of the statewide? Did you get to meet people like that?
oh yeah, sure.
Who
Ted
was it?
Wenzel.
Wenzel, yeah. What was he like?
Wenzel was a strange fella, very nice, but I always remember him. I was walking a picket line in front of CSEA because the staff, we went on strike.
Where, here?
Yeah, no, here in Albany.
In Albany, oh.
Yeah, 33 Elk Street at that
Oh, I
time.
remember that.
And it was on a hill like this. Well, believe it or not, we were walking a picket line, and we all wore out a pair of shoes because of the fact that you had to go up. But anyway, and we'd be out there early in the morning picketing, and Wenzel would drive up in a bike. He'd ride a bike from his house. So, but he was a good president. He was a gun-ho guy. I mean, the guy that I admired and I thought was Mr. CSEA himself is Joe Lochner. I think Joe Lochner was one of the main reasons why CSEA became successful.
Now, what was Joe?
He was the executive director, but he ran the staff. He did. I mean, he did a tremendous job. I had a lot of respect for Mr. Lochner, and I thought he was wonderful. Well, he finally retired.
When was he active?
Oh, well, when I joined in 1968, 69, I think in the 70s.
So you spent a lot of time in Albany.
Well, back and forth,
Back and
yes.
forth.
Well, and another thing, besides being the president of Local 919, I'm the only retiree on a statewide PAC committee. In other words, it's my responsibility to make sure that any bills that we as retirees are looking to have pressed, that CSEA doesn't. And they've been wonderful. I go up to the meetings, and they accept the fact that the retirees are part of our organization. And
You're more experienced. Than anybody.
you know, and remember, they're going to be retirees someday soon too. You know,
Exactly.
so that's the reason why. Now I find that keeping active that way keeps me going.
Yeah.
Like I said, especially in the past couple of months, I've had a little difficult, but I feel that they've helped me tremendously.
You got a great
So
support group. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
they're very.
Let's go back to the past for a while. Lochner, what kinds of things did he do that you?
Joe Lochner was Mr. CSEA. I mean, he was great with staff. I mean, he knew how to use staff, and he utilized them. He was a strict guy. You know, he required that you, but he just was good. And I had another supervisor, Jerry Rogers, who worked very closely with Joe Lochner. That was the crew at that time, and they were the gentleman that approached me, asked me if I would be interested in working for them, so.
Good.
But Joe Lochner, he just, when he, certain people carry themselves in such a way that you always feel like you're, they're good,
Yep.
So
They do.
you get a feel for them that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, right. I feel that way about Danny. I just think he cares about people. I think that says something about the whole union.
That's exactly the right way.
Yeah.
He does care. Danny is.
Well-
I've never seen him. One of the things that I had to convince him when he first took office in Central Islip was that, there are people and there are people. There are people who are not on his side, and you got to understand that, because not everybody is like you. So you got to watch out who your friends are at all times.
Yeah.
So I think he learned that lesson. When I hear him speak, I heard him speak at the last convention, ASME convention, and he stood right beside McEntee and Gephardt and Hillary, and he came across just as good, if not better, than some of them.
Oh, yeah. He holds his
So
own.
it does give you a sense of pride, though, that I contribute just a little bit to the organization and to people like that.
But I mean, that's the philosophy of CSEA, isn't it?
Right.
That everybody helps everybody.
Right.
And you were in a good position to see that and do that.
All right,
And
because
that's-
I started from the beginning when we didn't have any rights at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we had situations in the hospitals there, those people were working. If the director saw somebody walking across the lawn and he didn't like him, he'd say, fire him, and they'd fire him. So that was a terrible way to work. And we didn't have health insurance, and stuff like that, which is the #1 priority for retirees.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let me see. We went from Wenzel. After Wenzel was president, then it was McGowan.
McGowan, yes.
Yeah. What do you
McGowan's all right. McGowan was all right. He was around a long time as executive vice president or
Yeah.
something, so he was good. He had some good ideas, and I was one of those people who wasn't too sure when we merged or with ASME, because they were our competitors all the time. When we had elections, and we had some elections, we had some rough elections. I remember one election we spent on the grounds of Kings Park. I rented a trailer, and and we slept there that night, which was very good. The state allowed us to bring the trailer in, and we passed out our stuff. I mean, and the other union had the same rights, but I don't think they ever took advantage of that. We had a big trailer there, so we made a big splash. But we did win the elections, but then we lost the. But McGowan had some excellent ideas, but I
McGowan?
think the biggest thing that he did was associate us with ASME. I think that was the smartest move, because in the long run, we benefit from our association with ASME.
Well, now you're partners. You can
Yeah.
fight each other too, right?
Yeah, the other way, we were just spending money and on elections. They were challenged, we were challenged, and that entails a lot of legwork.
Yeah.
You talk about legwork. We you see things come back.
That's good.
I remember we were recruiting part-time workers in Jones Beach. And we actually went there, I think, on a Saturday morning and walked across sand dunes, because these part-time workers were all over the place. So we were tracking them down and giving them cards, and and we recruited quite a few of them. But that was another adventure into the sand dunes. I said, sometimes you say to yourself, what am I doing here?
Wherever they are, that's
Yes.
where you gotta go, right?
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Yeah. And I always remember funny things are some things stick in your mind. When we went to Jones Beach, there's a toll gate there. So the president, and I don't want to name him now, it wasn't Danny, the president of the Parks Department, local, he went through because he had an employee. He went around the toll gate, but he told us, "Oh no, you guys got to go through the toll gate." And we had to pay And I said, gee, that's strange. We're talking about a quarter, you know.
Yeah.
But he was a strict.
Well, you can name him. Tell me who it is.
Lou, he's now in Florida, and he's not doing too well.
That's all right.
But we had some good memories,
Yeah.
fond memories.
Now, you were around when the Taylor Law.
Yes,
came in, right?
1968, right.
So what happened? I mean, how did that come about? Were you part of any of that?
Well, we were pushing
testifying?
for it because we wanted to get some representation. So most of the public employees were very enthusiastic about it, and we had a lot of backing. And you got to make phone calls, and, you know, and that's the one thing that people don't understand, that, you know, it's not done by 2 or 3 people. It's done by everyone collectively making phone. And they say phone calls, what? They mean a lot. I talk to a lot of politicians, and they keep tab of the phone calls they get. And they know that as seniors or retirees, we vote, you know what I mean? And that's why we're so strong, so to speak, politically, because our people are the big ones.
All right. That's good. Okay, let's see. We talked about Wenzel, McGowan, McDermott.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah. Tell me about Joe.
Joe was, he was good. He was a quiet guy. He did everything very conservatively. And the staff respected him, but he was kind of stern all the time, and he wasn't over-friendly. But he never did any harm to us anyway.
Okay. All right. All right. What would you say that you're most proud of in your CSEA career, which is still going on? But what makes you the
Well, I feel I was a little part in building the organization. I contributed not only my time as a staff member, but as an activist even after retirement, because it's very important. And the fact remains that in Nassau and Suffolk County, we have over 9,000 members, and I know that the Suffolk County local has as many members as we have. So people keep in touch with us, and we sometimes have to answer silly questions, but you know, that's part of the game. You got to take the good with the bad. And if you enjoy doing it, I've always enjoyed working with people, and maybe that's good, or maybe that's bad, but it's kept me going, believe me.
Good, yeah. All right, from the other side of the coin, what would you say is your biggest disappointment, let's see, with CSEA, if you have any?
Biggest disappointment?
Yeah.
No, you know, one of the things that I don't want to get political, no, but
Why not?
no, well, it's not a disappointment. It's I try to explain. We have I think 65 or 200,000 retirees, and the conception is, oh, retiree, he's got a lot of time. He can, you know, call him up if you need a picket line. You get, you know, you can't do that. You can't do that. These people, most of them have their own problems. You know the old joke about, you know, the guy who was in the nursing home, and the girls are talking, and they say, hey, you know, Mary's going out with can I tell a joke? It's clean. He says, Mary's going out with Jack. He says, oh, yeah, is he a nice-looking guy? No, he's not nice-looking. What, I mean, has he got a lot of money? Nah, he's not. So why, you know, is he a good lover? Nah, he's a terrible lover. Now, what the heck does she see in him? He's the only one in the nursing home that drives at night. So you see, and that's what you can't get through to these people. Only the other day I got a call where the call was going to be at Levittown Hall at 8 o'clock at night. I called some people. They just don't, you know, you can't get these people to go out after in 8 o'clock. You know, they just don't do it. So we have our monthly meetings and during the afternoon, and we get a good turnout. I don't know if it's because we give them bagels and coffee, but you know, they turn out.
So how often do you do that?
Once a month.
Where, here?
No, Levittown Hall. We go to a local place. Levittown Hall is in Hempstead.
Same day of the month every?
Yes.
What
Yeah.
day?
The fourth Tuesday of the month.
The fourth Tuesday. Maybe we'll show up.
We
One
got a
of these days.
meeting April 23rd.
I don't know if we can make it then, but you got one.
And the
in
last
May.
meeting would be May 21st. If you call me, I'll give you the
Who
instructions.
knows, we might, right?
I'll be in Las Vegas in
You'll be in
May.
You'll be
Well,
like
then
this.
there's always June.
No, we don't meet
No
in
June.
June, July. See,
Ah.
that's another thing. They don't meet during the heat. June,
Yeah,
July, and
that's
August.
right.
Then we go back in September.
September will be there.
September, okay.
Oh, we used to meet in June. We used to have a
Yeah.
picnic. But you
Uh-huh.
know what? We don't have able-bodied guys to
Yeah.
handle the beer, the soda, the cooking.
Right.
This is a big problem. And
Yeah.
one of my problems is trying to convince Albany that you can't rely on the retirees because they have the impression that these people have a lot of time
Yeah.
and they're willing to donate it. Well, it's not so.
Yeah.
I found out anyway.
Well,
And
you're-
so is everybody else. All the other locals had the same problem I have. It's not that so.
Albany will be listening to this, so.
Yeah, good. Let them.
Get it to them again, this way.
Yeah,
That's
this way
good.
they
That's
they
good. All right, what do you see as the most important events during your involvement with CSEA? I mean, it's 50
Well,
years, but there's a lot.
Well, of course, the tail law to me was the biggest thing because as a public employee, I had no health insurance, I had no the retirement. I mean, you know, it was all Social Security, you know, all those things. To me, that was one of the biggest breaks that the public employee got.
Right, yeah.
And as time goes by, you find that it is one of the most important
Yeah,
things
yeah, I agree.
because they had no rights, they had no holidays, they had nothing.
Right, that's right.
They sort of, to me, that was the highlight. Of course, there was, I don't know, another terrific thing that we found is also, there was one time, I think it was in '72, when we had a state contract, and we actually went on strike one weekend. We went on strike. That was a very interesting to see who would get up and to be counted, you know, and that's where you know who's what and why, you know, and I was very gratified because we had a terrific following and they all turned out, and so the strike ended over the weekend. But that was quite an experience.
Yeah.
That was another experience we
That's
had.
a highlight, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's pictures of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the picket lines and we had a good turnout. We had a good turnout. And what's even better was when we had hearings for each one of these employees was brought up under the Taylor law.
Mhm.
Well, we didn't lose one case. So
Excellent.
we had a good attorney at that time. Lester Lipkin was our regional attorney, and we worked together, and we spent days at hearings, you know.
Sure.
But evidently our people said the right things.
Yeah.
So we won all our cases.
Excellent.
Nobody lost any money. Not that I advocate strikes, because nobody wins in a strike.
That's true. That's true. But sometimes,
You have to stand up to be counted.
yeah, that's right. All right, let me ask you one question. I'll give you more time if you want it, but let me ask you this. Yeah, have a drink. You have a lot of history with CSCA. You've learned a lot with CSCA. You've taught a lot to the people you represent. What lessons do you think CSCA's history holds for its future?
I think they're heading in the right direction. First of all, they've now started to take in private employment,
Yeah.
which, you know, to survive, that's what you have to do. People like to see staff out in the field, and they've increased the staffs to the point where at least, you know, they can represent the people. Because people are funny. If they don't, you know, they want attention all the time. I mean, as a retiree, we have very little benefits coming to us, but the calls that you get, you know, sometimes, you know, they pay a $12 yearly dues, and you know, they expect health insurance, they expect dental insurance, you know, so you got to explain it to them, and if you don't have the patience. But I think CSEA is heading in the right direction. in order to survive, they're going to have to expand, and that's what they're doing. And the future is the big thing. And unions will be around a long time.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Glad you think so. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other people I've talked to today. Like, you have memories of Rita Wallace?
Rita Wallace?
Yeah. What do you remember about Rita?
Rita's a good person.
Yeah.
She's a hard worker. She has a funny way of getting across to some of the people. That's as far as I'm concerned. Is this
What do you-
being recorded?
What do you mean?
She's rough. She's a rough person.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would
And
she get
she-
what she wants?
Not all the time.
Does anybody ever?
I mean,
get
there's a way of getting something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she used to rub too many people the wrong way.
Oh.
So.
So were you at some of these battles?
No, thank goodness I wasn't involved with Rita's local, but from what I heard,
Yeah.
she,
All right. What about some of the region people here, like Nick Lamort?
Nick Lamort is one of the best things that happened to this region,
Really?
as far as I'm concerned. I've seen what he does, his involvement. I've been to conventions with him. He gets involved. He treats the retiree locals like they're part of the organization. So he's respected by a lot of people. I was fortunate enough at the last Washington meeting, would ask me to visit numerous officials and congressmen, and they all were, on first name basis, which is something good. It's got a good rapport, whether they're Democrats or Republican, So I think that he's doing a tremendous job, and I hope he continues. But sometimes I tell him, you're pushing yourself too thin, and not in weight, in time. His weight, he's got to watch out, just like Danny. But I think he.
There's respect for people who represent CSEA.
You definitely feel that.
With the
way.
politicians, with
sure.
the people. Don't you think?
I really think so. I could walk down the street anytime, and one of the proudest things that I have is that I could walk into any state facility and meet people that and they acknowledge me and they come over to me and to me that is the greatest thing. I've had that happen to me a number of times. We were in Hawaii at the convention, and I'm walking with my wife, and people came over and thanked me for past services as a field rep, and told my wife some very nice things that I was surprised, but they appreciate the fact that you're a human being and you respect them, and this is what I try to teach my sons.
Good. Make a difference.
Makes a big difference in your life. Believe me.
And you make a difference in people's lives.
Well,
obviously.
I hope so. I hope it's a plus anyway. You don't have much time left, and when you don't, everything is important to you. Everything.
Yeah. Well, I've asked you all the questions I can think of. You got anything else you want to tell us before we?
I'll probably think of a lot of
Well,
things.
then we'll come back.
No.
No, seriously, we'll come back in another month or two, or maybe September, and we'll do this again, because what we find is you stimulate a lot of memories, and so if you think of things, just write down a little
Okay.
note, and keep a list, and we'll come back.
Okay.
Talk again. But if there's anything now you want to say.
No, I really, I appreciate the opportunity to express myself and to express my gratitude for CSEA, because they changed my life, my family's life too, because I sent 2 boys through college. So, I got to admit that. But there are times when things are bad, but hey, you got to take the good with the bad.
That's right. Well, we really appreciate it, and
I appreciate
I'm
this.
honored that you had the time to talk to us.
Oh, I appreciate the
I
time.
really am.
I appreciate the.